Welcome to the Story-Eyed Podcast. My name is Brenden.
And I'm Jen. On this show, we talk about all things Williams syndrome. We're excited to share our community with you. Thanks for being here.
So let's bring it back. We now have it's Brenden and
Hey, what up,
hey
people?
everybody. It's the 100th episode. It's the 100th episode, and unfortunately, we're without our rudder, our steering wheel. Jen. Well, Jen's being a mom, and that's the most important thing. Jen is being a mom. Jen, her daughter Greer had a championship game today. So if Jen is able to pop on for a minute, I will immediately bring her on. But we're gonna fly just Brenden and myself. How are you doing, buddy?
I am doing great.
Good.
It was so much fun. Doing the interview with my mom and having her on. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I had my final swim practice for Special Olympics yesterday. Summer Games are next weekend. So I'm really excited about that. And I have some band rehearsals for another gig in between all that. So running around like a chicken with my head cut off. As per usual.
That's excellent. Busy is good. Busy is good. Let's see. I am just coming off I just spent the week at camp, Camp USA, and that was it was a great time. Lots of great. The kids are awesome, obviously, and they had a good, but really good group of parents today, or this week, I should say, and parents willing to talk about some hard things, and we had really great discussions. And so, it was really wonderful. And now I'm here with my coworkers who, they're out of the room, so I can say what I really think about them. And what I really think is I really like my coworkers. I'm a lucky guy. So I get to hang out with a few of my coworkers here, and we're doing. So this 100th episode is on. Also coincides with the weekend for Williams. I want to look at this. Look what we can do. It's 100 episodes.
Woo!
Yay! Little look at the confetti. Yay! 100 episodes. So that is. So Jen, hopefully maybe we'll be able to make an appearance, but it feels weird. It feels wrong that we're doing episode 100 without Jen, but unfortunately, life works, and so
life be life, and sometimes
life is life in here, and so we're just gonna roll with it. It's Brenden and me, and I think it's great. We are gonna bring, and I'm gonna ask them to come on first because I'm just so afraid of butchering Camille's name. And so let us bring in, please welcome Dr. Mo Helgren, and I'm terribly sorry. Are you? Is it Dr. Camille? Are you doctor yet? Yeah.
Student doctor. I'm a first year. Well, actually, second year now. I just finished my first year of medical school.
Okay, fantastic.
He finished on Friday.
Yeah.
You did mention that in the email. Friday. Well, congratulations on being done with year one.
Thank you.
And I apologize. And I apologize for yesterday. And I probably was butchering your name all over the place. I was going with Camilo Zeballos Carvajal.
That is pretty much on point. That's really good. Yeah.
All right. I'll see you guys later. It's good. Thanks. No. But let's start with you, Dr. Mo. If it's all right if I call you Dr. Mo, is that okay? Because it's really
Mo is fine.
Great. So you actually have a familial connection,
yes,
which is
Mo is my cousin.
you.
On my mom's side of the family. Yep.
We have a large extended family,
Yeah.
and a large, lovely, crazy extended family. And
Yeah.
yes, I am. Anne and I are first cousins. So what that makes Brenden and I don't know. It makes us
Family.
family. It makes us family.
Yeah, there's a once removed, I think, in there or something. I'm not sure. And I just realized because, see, this is why I don't normally host the show, is I just totally stepped on how we usually start the show, and that's Brenden bringing our guests in. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Brenden, and
right.
you can bring in Camilo.
All right. Well, hi Mo. Hi Camilo. How are you guys?
We're great, Brenden. How are you?
Doing great.
Doing well. It's so great to see you guys again. So, for those who might not know who you are, why don't you guys take a few seconds to each introduce yourselves and tell everyone a little bit about yourselves.
Camilo, why don't you go first?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So, like we mentioned, I am a brand new second year medical student. I just finished my first year of medical school on Friday, which feels amazing, feels pretty good. But I am originally from Florida. I moved here for medical school, so my first time ever in the Northeast. And yeah, really excited to be here and be able to talk with you guys.
And here is at Quinnipiac University
Yes.
and why can I not think of? And I'm sure it's on Quinnipiac campus.
Yeah.
In the North Haven
Connecticut.
campus. Yes.
Yeah.
In Connecticut, the Frank H at our
School of Medicine.
I had a less than zero chance to get that right, and I went for it. Well, welcome to me, and Dr. Mo, I'll let you to fill in a little bit more.
And I am Mo Helgren, and I'm a professor of medical sciences at the Frank H. Netter School of Medicine at Quinnipiac College in Connecticut, or Quinnipiac University. Whoops. It used to be Quinnipiac College when I went there many, many, many years ago.
Right.
But now it has grown and grown, and we, I think we just graduated our 10th or 11th medical students. So we're a relatively new medical school, and it's a phenomenal medical school. I'm really happy to be there.
Oh, very
It really
good.
is.
I didn't realize that the medical school aspect of it was a pretty recent thing.
Recent but growing, and growing really fast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in a great area of the country, and obviously Quinnipiac has from at least what I know, a solid reputation in terms of just liberal arts studies and other disciplines. So, well, that's fantastic. You had talked about Mo about it was Quinnipiac College when you went there, and that leads into you have a connection, and you sort of have continued on the journey from one of the people that we know very well in the Williams syndrome community, Dr. Barbara Pober.
Yeah.
If you could talk a little bit about as you when we were emailing back and forth, you had put it so wonderfully about how Dr. Pober sort of started down this path, and you've been fortunate enough to kind of continue.
Yeah, we have been really, really fortunate, right? So Dr. Pobar and Dr. Masisa were founding faculty at the School of Medicine. I wasn't there yet. And both, have this real interest in rare disease. And we were fortunate enough that there was also a local person in our community that had dedicated some money to the medical school for the very specific purpose of educating our students on rare disease. because it's not really covered in medical curricula. It's not a requirement. And so with that funding, Barbara and Carolyn, they started annual Rare Disease Day. And it's been wonderful. Brenden has been part of the first Rare Disease Day, I believe, and the 10th Rare Disease Day, and has had other, interactions at the university. So that's been really great. And of course, Barbara's not there anymore. She went back full time to clinical practice. But we have been able to expand, right, beyond just having a Rare Disease Day once a year. And I think that's really important. I was surprised. I'm also from the, rare disease community. My family has a different rare disease, but, we share a lot of, the diagnostic journeys and some of the challenges. And, I know how difficult it is to go through those challenges. And the fact that so many people don't know about rare diseases or don't follow through as perhaps we would want them to. So I feel very blessed that I have this passion to teach this next generation to be aware, to be interested, to be inspired, and there's so much more to it.
Yeah, very cool. So then, Camille, so your introduction to Williams syndrome when Professor Helgren shoved it at you and forced you into learning about this. No, is it so? So was this initially part of an assignment and some research? But and how did you sort of come into working on learning about and educating about Williams syndrome?
Yeah, so I think it started off with curiosity. Coming into medical school, I thought we'd have more built-in curriculum about rare disease. And then finding out that that's not really a commonplace in general across medical school, and that Quinnipiac actually does a really good job at even just exposing us to rare diseases and rare conditions is amazing, and just kind of made me curious and wanting to learn a little bit more. And so Dr. Helgren was offering a class in the spring, so I decided to take it. And I was going to do a completely different rare disease. And then I had a meeting with Dr. Helgren, and she knows that I really like music. One of my biggest passions is music and music production and music writing. Before medical school, I wanted to do musical theater and all that. And so she was, I think you would really enjoy learning about Williams syndrome. And so I looked into it, and we talked a little bit about it, and I really wanted to learn more. So she put me in contact with Brenden, and we had a great meeting, and it was amazing. One, learning about it, but then also, as she was saying, learning the importance of, as a medical student, being exposed to these conditions. Because one of the things that really shocked me was how difficult it is sometimes for people with rare diseases to get diagnosed. Because many times, even though you have these very specific triads or signs that would show something, sometimes people don't communicate, or they might not read the chart. And so a lot of things get missed until later on, until you meet that one person that understands, oh, this is a picture that comes together like this.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And so let's see, Mo was nice enough to share the pamphlet that you produced, and I'll share another story about that in just a moment. But I wanted to talk to Dr. Helgren about sort of as you said, a lot of medical curriculum, they maybe touch upon rare diseases and everything, but and you said about we're trying to increase talking about rare diseases, trying to get that put into more and more curriculum. Like just, it seems to me, obviously, as someone who gets to live in this world of Williams syndrome, but having rare disease, a little bit more rare disease instruction in medical school is going to be exactly like what Camilo said. You're going to find people who are going to see and put things together, hopefully earlier. So it's going to, in theory, make diagnosing rare diseases, faster and make early intervention possible. If you could just talk a little bit more about the benefits of what rare disease instruction in medical, in medical school, even from a first year standpoint. If you could just expound upon some of the benefits of that.
So I think that it is really important to start early, right? And I know, I have to fill out things for accreditation. I know what's on the boards, right? I understand that rare disease cannot be on board exams for students, and that there is not a mandate from accrediting agencies. And so it's hard to fit things into a curriculum that are not going to be immediately useful, for that student. However, it's almost too late. Like they say, oh, you can learn that when you get out in the clinic. However, rare diseases are rare, right? And so although you will see someone with a rare disease, I get you can't learn them all. But what we want to do is teach an approach to rare disease, and we can just integrate that into our curriculum in what I think is a really easy way. And part of that is through exposing students to patient experiences. Students are really good at, some of the biology and biochemistry and immunology and science behind all the diseases. They know how to study for those pathways, but it's really when you bring somebody who has this lived experience that you capture their heart. Mm-hmm. And then they start to realize, okay, I know for this exam, I have to know all of these signs and symptoms, equal this disease. But that's not how we are as people, right? People are individuals and things don't always fit into that box. And it's just about saying, keep that curiosity, right? Keep that thought process of, maybe this doesn't fit and maybe it's something else. And if you just go that one step further, the effect that you will have on patients and families is really so impactful. So I love, I love our students, but I also love that they really have kind of taken on, yes, we are going to kind of be the school that advocates for rare disease. So it's also, rare diseases are so interesting, right? Across the board, they're interesting. And it's not like any of the kind of data and the research is confined to rare disease. All of that really expands across, so many populations. So I think that we're going to train up a whole new workforce, right? Yeah. That is really going to be able to address the issues that need to be addressed.
I love that. We one of the things as director of family support for the WSA, I get asked a lot, can you help me find a doctor who knows about Williams syndrome? Can you help me, find and obviously that's great. I always make sure that I share the experience that my wife and I had, and when Bennett was diagnosed, is we found a doctor who hadn't necessarily had a patient, a pediatrician. He hadn't necessarily had a patient with Williams syndrome, but he was curious and he was fascinated by it. And so he was willing to do that little bit of extra work to educate himself. And and obviously Bennett is his own individual, and his journey is going to be different than Brendan's or anybody else's with Williams syndrome. But at least now we can, by having our doctor, shout out to Dr. Cook, having someone who is curious and wanting to learn, just adds another doctor who has experience with Williams syndrome. And so, instead of going back to this, trying to go back to the same, and I get it, it's exhausting as a parent having to explain what, Williams syndrome over to a doctor and explain these things over and over. And it gets tiring to do so, and you just want someone who can come in and go, yep, I know Williams syndrome, off we go. But if you have one that's curious, that to me, in our experience, that has proven to be a really beneficial, and that he is sort of able to learn sort of the general. He follows sort of the general things about Williams syndrome that have been studied and are published and stuff. But then he also is able to look at Bennett as his own as an individual and see how his Williams syndrome is manifesting as he grows. So when you said curious, it's that old Ted Lasso thing of be curious, not judgmental. So Camilo, could you talk a little bit about the pamphlet? Because it's here's the story of what about what happened yesterday. Is we were sitting here and we were supposed to have on one of our dear friends, Dr. Robin Pegg, who has been instrumental in studying how to educate people with Williams syndrome, and she's been instrumental in starting this knowledge network that we just kicked off. And so, but there was a snafu in the scheduling, and so it came up, and we were waiting for her to join the waiting room, and she was not there, and suddenly we're frantically texting and trying to find out where she is. Anyway, we had time to kill, and so there's 5 of us sitting here just trying to figure out what are we going to talk about. And so we thought, do we have a movie or do we have a video about Williams syndrome that we can just quick pop on? And we do. We have many on our YouTube channel. So, but they're getting a little dated, and we need to update them a little bit. So, not that I am a proponent of AI and everything, and just letting AI create things for you, but in a moment of not desperation, but more curiosity, frankly, I wanted to see what would AI do if I put Camilo's pamphlet and said, create a short video based on the information in this pamphlet. And universally, and we played it live and reacted to it. So this is in no way a judgment on you and your work, because actually we were like, hey, information wise, it was accurate. The AI did pick out a lot of the a lot of very important salient points about Williams syndrome and things that pick up Williams syndrome. The visuals it chose, though, it would do the Ken Burns effect, but like on just like a word, and it was like pulled in and like hyper focused on a word, and we're just like, oh, this is completely unwatchable. But the audio is really good. We're learning about Williams syndrome here. But so the pamphlet that you made for class, talk a little bit about the discovery, and you said you talked to Brenden, and I want to hear more about that. If you guys could talk about it, frankly, from you, Brenden, too. I'd love to hear about how this process went.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was it was really interesting, and I actually really enjoyed it. I definitely understand the frustration with AI. I tried using AI, like it was. I tried using AI for a lot of the images, and it took a long time to even like. I would ask it to do one thing, and it would mess up the whole image or things like that. Like it. So in that terms, I understand, but it was really amazing being able to talk with Brenden, and the fact that Dr. Helgren was able to put me in contact with him and his mom, and we were able to kind of meet to learn a little bit more about him and his experience. But then also just going down, like I spent some time going through the old videos on your YouTube page and just listening to people that had the experience and reading up about it and doing research. Because I wanted to, my whole idea with the pamphlet, at the beginning, when I first took the class, it was more so like, oh, I just want to do this project and it'll be something simple and it'll be nice. But then after talking with Dr. Helgren, and she explained to me the idea that she had for this, of like making something that would be accessible for all medical students around the world, or around, at least in the US or at our school, that would give you enough information to, one, be knowledgeable enough to know about the condition, but then two, also be able to share it and then potentially, diagnose it and meet people in the future where they're at. And so I said, okay, well, let me spend a good amount of time on this because I want it to be something that is visually appealing, but that's easy to read, that has enough medical language to understand the important stuff, but is also easy to read for anyone that's just curious. And it took a lot of time for for that to kind of come together. A lot of rewrites, a lot of sending it out to different people. But I loved it. And I think I came into the class not really knowing what to expect. And I left learning so much more than what I could have originally anticipated. And it's left me with a desire to want to know more. Especially going back to the question that you asked Dr. Helgren earlier about like rare disease education in medical school. I think there's a big emphasis on, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. And that is good 99% of the time. But it's in that 1% of the time where it's important to know what that zebra is. And I think that there's such an emphasis on the horses and not the zebras now that sometimes that rare disease aspect is lost. And this, as someone that is really interested in potentially going into primary care and might be the first point of contact for a lot of people facing these rare diseases for the first time, I want to make sure that I have the tools to, at least if I haven't heard of something, to be able to get them in contact with the right people and know how to educate myself to best treat these patients also.
Yeah. Brenden has told us on the podcast several times, the fact that he was misdiagnosed a couple times and then didn't, get a really diagnosis until 14, 15,
13.
13. And then my family had the complete opposite. Bennett was born 2 months early, with just surprising, like literally had his 32-month checkup the day before. Everything's great. Okay, see you in a week. We're getting ready to start our birthing classes and all that stuff. And the next morning, my wife's water broke, and Bennett decided, no, I'm coming out now. And but after in the craziness of an emergency C-section, and the craziness of everything that went on, after Bennett was out, the story, at least as we were told, it was one of the nurses that Jeff was savvy and saw some things, saw some of the little bit of the cranial structure around the nose, and she was like, his palate's a little high. And my favorite phrase that I tell everybody is, and I don't know if this was the same nurse that noticed it. The way I tell the story, it's the same nurse that noticed this, came to me and said, his ears are a little low, so we're going to check his kidneys. and I was just like, blink, blink. I know what all of those words mean, but not in that order. And she's like, yeah. So she was the one who, at least early on, recognized that okay, there, she may, she initially thought Williams syndrome, but she's like, there's any number of things that it could be.
Right.
Didn't phrase it like that to me, like, oh, we're gonna check him out, but they phrased it to me like, and it was because my wife had just had surgery, she was out, so these decisions came to me to make, and she was just like, we just want to see if we can, figure out maybe why he came early, and so we just like your permission to run a few tests, and I said, well, yeah, of course, we want to know, and then in that conversation is where they said, look, his pal's a little high, his ears are low, and all these, and I'm like, okay, cool, but we sort of figured at that point that we were probably going to get a phone call of some kind saying, we need to meet. But again, it's somebody knew how to put some pieces together to in this case see a potential zebra, and because of that we had early intervention. We had very, very early on. So yeah, I can totally see that. Brenden, what was it like chatting with this cocky med student who just comes in and says, is like, I'm gonna change the world, tell me your story?
It was great talking with Camilo. We met in person and we hit it off right away, and it was great because I also got to see my cousin Mo as well, because she was kind of the one that kind of talked to my mom first and was like, hey, I have this idea, what do you think? And then we met in person and hanged out, and yeah, it was great vibes, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
Was it one conversation or a few conversations, or?
Well, we had one in-person conversation, and then there was a few back and forth via email.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We hit it off right away, and yeah, it's been fun.
So,
from my perspective, it was really fun to see because it was like this great connection, and then this great music connection, and then I learned, which I never knew before, that Brenden also, builds guitars. And
I was just about to say that.
I was like, and it was just like they were talking about the same clubs and the music. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to mentioning about the guitar making, because I didn't know anything about Brenden making guitars, and so I said, I've been looking into wanting to get like a handmade guitar recently, because I really want to just like elevate my playing style and everything. And he's like, no way, like I make guitars. And I was like it was such an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, as friend of the show Pim mentions in the comments, I mean, who are we kidding? Who wouldn't instantly love Brenden? And so where the Venn diagram of musical interest between Brenden and Camille. Let's get to the important stuff here. Where overlaps in musical interest?
Yeah, we have a lot of similar tastes, I would say. Yeah, we listen to a lot of the same bands. Some newer bands we both, listen to, and some bands I've shown him. And
a lot of K-pop, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I told him he has to let me know the next time that he's performing, because I'd love to go see that. And also he helped me out. Since I'm brand new to Connecticut, I've been wanting to kind of go out and check out the jazz scene here and just see how everything's been, like just the music scene in general in Connecticut. And he gave me a lot of really great recommendations to go check out. And now that I have a little bit more free time, I'll probably start doing that over the summer.
And I have your number too, Camilo. So I will.
Yes. Please do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So where does this go? Where does this go from here? I mean, as you continue your medical journey, moving forward, like you said, maybe going into being a GP,
primary care.
Primary care. I was thinking general physician, and I was like general physician. But being a primary care physician. So, like, how does this, having this this knowledge, having this sort of methodology of curiosity, sort of planet. Like, how does this move forward for you and Mo? Like, as you now, is your time with Camilo done at Quinnipiac? Like, is he going to go on? Are you going to be instructing him in other areas here as he moves forward through his education?
Well, I don't have direct instruction, but it's family. It's it is at Netter, we are a family, and I don't know, Camilo is kind of special also. So
which is why you gave him your favorite rare condition.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah.
Right. One of the things that I'd love to do at our next rare disease day is really I don't know if I should say this, but after our rare disease day, to have a kind of celebration afterwards, and have it at a place where there can be people performing, and
Right.
from our rare disease committee or rare disease community performing, and I want to see Brenden and Camilo play together.
There you
That's
go.
my goal.
That would be really cool.
That would be really cool.
Manifest that. Yeah, manifest that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to practice a lot though to get on Brendan's level. I'm gonna have to.
We'll get there, bud.
Yeah, I'll jam with you, Brenden, and then I'm like, don't commit to that. What are you doing? And then, so Camilo, as you're moving forward, this instruction in rare. Actually, I'm terribly sorry. I want to pause for a second. We talk about the word disease, and there are a lot of families, individuals with Williams syndrome, and families of individuals with Williams syndrome that really recoil when we talk about rare diseases, and we include Williams syndrome in that. Would you please just discuss a little bit about why we use that word, or how does that word fit in? How does the word disease fit in when we're talking about something like Williams syndrome? Because it obviously has different connotations in different contexts in the community. Either one of you, I'm really sorry. I just got through it. Just popped in my head.
Oh yeah.
But every rare disease day, we promote it. Obviously, Nord Nord recently has changed it from disease to disorders. Disease is a word that encompasses. So maybe Mo, if you could start talking a little bit about it.
I think language is really important, and I think that rare disease has quote unquote stuck because that is really how it started in terms of really getting the Orphan Drug Act passed. The language at that point was rare disease, and we know that it's conditions, syndromes, disorders, unknowns, right? But I think that rare disease has continued, right, because of the early implications and trying to get recognition, right, from different stakeholders. So I think that original language of rare disease is, a leftover from trying to really advocate for a really large population. And I think that sometimes language is hard to change.
Sure. We see that every day.
And I do think that also, sometimes some of our syndromes, our conditions, as we find out more about the, biological basis and more identification, particularly with, a lot of the genetic advances now, I think sometimes they do go from conditions to diseases. But, one of the terms or one of the things that I think about when I use the word disease, I often think of it as dis-ease. It's just, I'm uneasy. It's something, dis-ease rather than being, like this terrible pathological term.
Yeah.
But I think in the next, I think as we pay more attention to language, right? Like it took a long time for us to, come to, first order language instead of, saying, now we say, someone living with a Williams syndrome rather than a Williams syndrome patient, right? It took a long time to switch that language. And I think that it will probably take, the NORD organizations, right, to adopt that, and that's where the change will come.
Yeah, and I suppose if there's further legislation, as we're moving forward, as we're looking into funding for research and et cetera, the language can change slowly over time. I just wanted to. It's like when you're like, if you ask, well, like my son is interested in the keyboard and piano, and I play keyboard and piano, but he doesn't want any instruction from me on it. It's like, I don't want, no, Dad, no, I don't want it from you. So, but it's like, if you're hearing it from the WSA that no, the word disease is fine. It's just a catch-all word. Some people, maybe I thought to some people out there, maybe hearing it from from a professor, a medical professor, that they would go, oh, okay, it makes sense. Disease does not mean communicable. It just means. Right. It's just I like how you put it. It's just dis-ease. You are not in a state of ease.
Right.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I think also. Oh no! I think Dr. Helgren did a great explanation, and I just wanted to also add. I think a lot of people might have a bad connotation with the word disease, and I think removing that connotation from it is really important. Because disease is not saying, like you said, not something that's communicable, not something, not something bad in that sense. It's just something that is slightly different or different than what you would typically see. And something that might need further care and further attention. And I think that, I think also understanding that, it's like, I think because we think of diseases and we might think of communicable diseases or infectious diseases, people have maybe that weariness or that turn off from the word, but it's really just trying to describe exactly that. And I really like the way that Dr. Helgren mentioned it, like the dis-ease. I had never thought about it that way, but I think that's a really great way of explaining the word.
Yeah, it's great. So then I can go to the question that I was originally starting to ask. So as you're moving forward in your education, Camilo, how do you stay curious, I guess? Because you're going to get thrown a ton of information at you over the next several years. And then once you go into residency and et cetera, however your career ends up going, it's just going to be absorption of more and more. How do you, I'll ask you first, how do you stay curious with everything that's going on? And then I'll ask Dr. Helgren, any advice for Camilo and anybody else on staying curious?
Yeah.
So, Camilo.
Yeah, no, I think moments like this are actually really helpful. I think having taken the class in one and reminded me again of why I came to medical school. I think prior to coming to medical school, I worked a lot in primary care offices, and a lot of them were privately owned, which was really nice because they got to spend as much time as they wanted with their patients. And I got to see, actually, funny enough, I worked in a clinic where I was able to see different people managing different rare conditions or rare diseases and talking with them and seeing about their experience, as well as also just general high blood pressure and hypertension and stuff like that. And I like that that double aspect of it. And then I came to medical school and got so caught up with education and everything. And then I was put in a mesh site that was amazing. I was with great physicians that taught me a lot. But it was, kind of more structured, like 15 to 20 minutes per patient, and then you kind of have to move on. And because of that, you have to refer a little bit out. And so I lost that kind of desire that I used to have for maybe more primary care specialties. And since I like everything, generally, it's really hard for me to decide what I want to do. I started thinking, oh, well, maybe I want to do something more procedural or something more specialized. And, that's not off the table. But I think having taken this class and done this project and talked with Dr. Helgren and Brenden has kind of reinvigorated my love for primary care as because you can really do as much as you want for your patients and really be that first point of contact. So I wanted to mention that because I think that's important in terms of how I stay curious now moving forward. I think it's an idea that I love to teach, and I also love to learn. And I think that the best way to teach is also by being able to be a good learner. You have to learn from someone in order to be able to teach it out. And it leads me to opportunities like this. Like if I hadn't taken this class, I wouldn't be here on this podcast talking with you guys and learning about all these things, which I would have never thought.
You wouldn't have gotten to meet Brenden, and you would know you would be sitting in your apartment or house all summer long with nothing to do.
Exactly. And I also probably would have never heard of Williams syndrome.
That's true.
And that's really where I think about it the most, because it's sometimes, especially as a medical school student, we're so busy that we really enjoy our long weekends or the time off, and we just want to do nothing. And it's so easy to not do nothing. And I am a proponent for taking time off and for doing what you need to do in order to recover. But I think it's innate to someone in medical school. At least it's innate to me and innate to a lot of my classmates that we're just constantly on the move and wanting that next experience. And for me, it's really a focus on, how can I best help the community? How can I best get to know, the everyday people that I'm going to be treating in the future? Because I'm always, this is a little bit corny, but my mom always used to tell me, she was like, in order for you to care for someone and to truly love someone, you have to understand, their suffering and their day to day. And I kind of have learned that that's true for everything, especially in medicine. Like if I want to treat my patients well and truly be a good physician that they can count on, I need to understand their everyday life, not only the good parts or the medical parts, but also what's making them suffer, what's hard for them on the day to day. So I can really offer them that help that they need. And so, I don't know, all of that has kind of just been on my mind these last couple of months ever since, meeting Brenden and taking this class and doing the pamphlet. So hopefully like that.
That's cool. Well, as we're getting close to wrapping up here, but Dr. Helgren, what advice do you have for anybody, frankly, but maybe especially people in the medical field on how to keep that curiosity, how to keep that, and not just become a data center?
I think that what I loved what Camilo just said, and he really gave a shout out to my class, which I actually say to the students, this class should be all about the joy of learning again, right? Because we do squish it a little bit, during first year medical school when we throw so much at them. But this is really the joy of learning, and I think our students really embrace that. But I think from where I can have any influence on that, it really is about presenting the person experience and sharing that with students, because I think that is just what Camilo just said, that you have to understand that lived experience in order to have a good relationship with patients, in order to, it's very reciprocal, right? That is also the joy of being a clinician, right? Is in that relationship. So yes, medicine is interesting, but it's interesting because people are also interesting, right? And so it's not about, it's not about the test, and it's not about the Anki cards. It's about the people. Yeah. And I think that you can tell that we probably do a pretty good job at recruiting and admitting really good students.
Sure.
And, I think that's another thing that we need to, stay focused on is this is who we want to educate, the people who have the same kind of heart as Camilo.
Yeah.
I would also just like to add, and I think it comes back to Dr. Helgren and the rest of the amazing professors that we have on campus. But we learn all these things in medical school as to how things are supposed to be, and also how things are supposed to go wrong or supposed to be different. And I think the first time that I came across that not everything is the same, especially when it comes to patients, is in anatomy. And they really made this emphasis of just because you learn that this vessel goes into this thing or comes off of this place, doesn't mean that's going to be the same in all our patients. And it's true. And all of our donors, a lot of things were very different. And when it comes to patients, I think that's one of the things that keeps me very interested. It's even if you are the number one expert on a condition, you're going to have a patient that's going to come in and it's going to completely change your perspective. And you're going to be like, this is something completely new. And I think being open to that is one amazing, because you really do get to see how an individual's take on something really affects their day-to-day life. And it's amazing. I don't know, in general, it's really good stuff.
I love that. Well,
Can I ask Brenden a question?
please.
Yeah. Please.
How are you feeling on your 100th episode?
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. It's been such a full circle kind of thing, because I was the original guest, the first guest in the first original episode, and then I came on pretty much full time on episode 8 after our other co-host had to step away for her own medical reasons. And it's just to have filmed over close to 100 episodes now, over a 3-year time span. It's been really cool. And I get to work with such wonderful people, with Joel and Jen, and it's been really special.
I echo everything that you're saying. As the staff person for the WSA, and when I came up with this show, there were really Jen Keaton was the first person I knew I wanted to work with. I knew, frankly, we had Steph Karen had reached out wanting to be a part of it, and so she was the start. But I knew I wanted the first guest to be Brenden. But Brenden, had become such a good friend. The 22 convention in Schaumburg, Brenden and I spent, I don't know, like an hour and a half just chatting over finger food at this at some get together that we happened to both. Maybe it was a board thing or something.
Yeah.
But we just chatted. We were talking music. We were talking, and I'm just like, dang, I like this guy. So Brenden, I love that I get to call him my friend. I love that I get to call him my my cohort in this little adventure. So we're really lucky. Obviously, 100 episodes is really special. It's this is the second podcast in my life that I've been a part of that we have reached the 100 episode mark, and this one is is really special because I get to do it with so many wonderful people. I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people who are either living with Williams syndrome or doing things to help. And it's always fun meeting helpers. Yeah. So well, thank you to both of you. I'm going to keep Brenden for just another minute or so here, but Mo, Camilo, you guys are we're fantastic.
You guys rock. Love you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much for this invitation.
Look, I've been on this. We're on hour whatever of this now. Hour 2 of today, or 3 today, and 10 yesterday. This hour absolutely flew by because this one was a lot of fun. So thank you both so very much, and I can't wait to follow up. Camilo, you're a part of the family now, so I look forward to reaching out and connecting with you, and Brenden, as you're going along on this journey. And if you ever need that moment to remind you why you're curious and to remind you, just always feel free to give a call to any of us. And
No, thank you guys very much. Oh, same here. At your disposition whenever you guys need it. I've loved this opportunity, loved this experience, loved talking and chatting with all of you guys. So looking forward, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both so much, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Brenden, my friend.
My brother.
It sucks that Jen's not here, but it does give me, another opportunity to just tell you that I'm so happy that we get to do this together. And
Damn, we did a great job, didn't we?
thank you to everyone who has listened to the show, who watches the show, and comments on the show, sends us messages.
So much.
Kim Hughes, Pim, you light up our days every Tuesday afternoon after you. Usually it's right away. Pim's there with comments of and croutons and hearts to you.
Croutons and hearts and all the good feels. Yeah.
I hope no one is overly peopled, and we can continue. We'll continue on and just keep trucking on this cast.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank you. Congratulations to you.
We did it. And normally at this point, I'd fade us out and we would go into the closing credits, which will happen on Tuesday.
You've been listening to the Starry-Eyed Podcast, presented by the Williams Syndrome Association and sponsored by InnerSense Organic Beauty. The show is hosted by Jennifer Keaton and Brenden Lemieux and produced by me, Joel Lispman. All music by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm. Got a question for the show? Email us at podcast@williams-syndrome.org. Video version of the podcast available on the Williams Syndrome Association channel on YouTube and on the Starry-Eyed Podcast page on Facebook. Audio version available wherever you get your podcast delights. So like and subscribe and help spread some Williams Syndrome awareness.